$2,000, minimum $2,000, right? There were some concerns and fears about infertility. I was at a dead-end job at the time. There was a lot of stuff going on. And it's not exactly ideal to start a marriage off, and the conversation at the dinner table and the conversation before you go to bed at night is, if something unexpected happens, I'm not sure how we're going to make it, how we're going to survive if something happens that we're not expecting. And maybe that's a sentiment that some of you can relate to. I understand my audience this morning. You guys are largely, if not solely, commission income, right? And my current job here at Ramsey is largely commission as well. So I understand the feeling of, I'm one bad month away from, I have no clue how this is going to work, right? I get it. But here's what I want to tell you, right? We got our heads together. We got on a plan. We injected a large dose of intentionality and commitment and grit and hustle into our life. We got our heads together. We got on a plan. We started acting with some common sense and some wisdom, and things started happening. Things started moving for us. The first big thing that happened is our fears about infertility were put to rest. We got married in May 29th, and then in September, Lauren comes bouncing down the stairs with a positive test. And so our daughter entered the world 9 months later. So we're about to celebrate next month a little 1-year-old, and she is growing like a weed. I mean, if you have kids, you understand that they also, they take a little bit of money to keep alive and develop into a healthy adult, right? And so she definitely does play a part of our monthly budgeting and our financial strategy. 100% she plays a part of that. And so that was solved, right? The other thing that started happening, and this is just how life goes, right? When you get serious and you get intentional in one area, things just start aligning. You become healthier across the spectrum, right? The other thing that started happening to us is we actually became debt-free. Yeah, 140 grand down to nothing. We made some really hard choices. We sacrificed a lot. We picked up a lot of work. We did some side hustles. We grinded it out. And I'm happy to say that the Westover household, that balance is now down to zero, and it feels so much better to now go to sleep at night and we can look at each other, and instead of saying, if something unexpected happens, I don't know how we're going to make it. Now we're saying things like, if something unexpected happens, if dad has like a bad month with commissions, this family is going to be okay. Like we have a plan, we have a strategy, we have a safety net. That's the feeling now. And to be able to look at your spouse or yourself in the mirror or the rest of your family and say that phrase, that means the world to us. That is worth any kind of price. That peace, the no stress and no anxiety, that's everything to us. And that's exactly where we want to take everyone who is on this call. If you can hear the sound of my voice, that's where we want to take you. We want to take you to a place where you're saying things like, hey, if something unexpected happens, if there is a bad month, we're going to be just fine because we're built for something like that. That's where we want to take you guys. So that's just a little bit about what we got going on over in Westover land. Before we dive into what is SmartDollar, how do I use it, and how does it help, I want to first establish kind of a baseline about what reality is as of 2022, end of 22, beginning of 23, right? I want to go over some stats. So I understand that we all have access to a chat this morning. So I want this to be a little interactive. I want to hear what you guys say. This is obviously a picture of a neighborhood right outside of DC. You can tell there's a Washington Nationals flag on that flagpole outside one of these townhouses. My question for you guys is this: what percentage of American families would say that they are one missed paycheck away from not being able to cover basic living expenses like mortgage/rent, utilities, food, and then transportation? what do you guys think? What percentage of American families just flat out would not make those expenses? They could not pay for those things if they missed a paycheck. I'm curious to kind of hear that. Okay, so 70, 90, 70, 60, 50. All right, so we got a wide range of numbers being thrown out. And man, I wish it was as low as Vicky's coming in with a 50%. I wish it was that low, my friend. It's actually 78% of American households are one missed paycheck from just not being able to cover those things. First of all, that sucks. Second of all, that's sad. That's heartbreaking because the economy is not exactly in the best shape it's ever been right now. We still have a lot of people who are out of work for a variety of reasons. That's not good. So I want you to keep this truth in mind, and we're gonna build a formula here, which will ultimately give us an answer, right? So take this number, put a addition sign, a plus sign next to it. We're going to add one more truth on top of this. If you have walked this earth any amount of time, you know that this is 1000% true. Life happens, and we're not always in control of when life happens to us, right? It could be something with the car. It could be a tire. It could be an alternator, a radiator. It could be something's happening with the roof, with the AC. There's a home repair that needs to be. Your kid comes up to you and says, hey, there's a school field trip. I don't want to be the only one left behind. I need $100 and it's in 2 days. What the heck, right? That happens all the time. There are vacations. So there's kind of like dreams and trips that you want to take as a family. Life happens, and we don't always get to control when it happens to us. That is definitely a truth. Let's combine one more truth on top of that, and that's this. We all have these things called goals. Some of us want to be debt free. We want to spend more time with family. We want to travel more. We want more freedom. We want to be able to either pay for our college debt or cash flow college as we go through it. We want to retire and feel very secure in that retirement life. There are things that we want to do. So 78% of families are in a tough spot. Life happens, and we're not always in control of when it does. We all have goals, and then just one more addition to this equation, and that's this. I grew up with this quote. I love this quote so much. Your intention to do something is not the same thing as your ability to do that thing. We all have good intentions when we wake up in the morning. I'm going to eat better. I'm going to work out today. I'm going to not be an idiot today. I'm not going to make dumb decisions today. I'm going to weigh less. I want to do this. I have every intention on doing this. I'm going to follow through with this commitment. We all have these really good intentions because we're really good humans. But because we are humans, sometimes those good intentions don't always get translated into action. We all know this to be true. And because if this were true, if our intention was enough, we would all eat less, we would weigh less, and we would spend less. If all it took were good thoughts in our head, life would be a dream. But obviously that's not the case. So what does this all lead to, right? The 78%, life is coming at you, we have goals, and then our intentions alone are not enough. What is this equation that we're forming? And that's simply this: you need a plan, right? You need a plan. If you want to see growth or progress or results or freedom in any area of life, whether it be your financial health, your physical health, your emotional, spiritual health, whatever it is, you need a plan. And what SmartDollar is, simply put, is a bunch of tools to help you get on a plan and then have some follow through with it. And so what is that plan? What is the plan that we have been teaching here in Nashville and across the country for the past 30 years? That is something that we call the 7 baby steps. And if you are familiar with the 7 baby steps, I want you to put in the chat, I've seen this before. I've heard about this on the radio. Maybe I saw a book in Barnes and Noble by Dave or Rachel or one of the personalities. I'm just curious to kind of know where we all sit this morning. But we're going to walk through the 7 baby steps, and then we're going to dive into SmartDollar on how to carry out and how to live these 7 baby steps out. So here's where we want to start. Baby steps 1 through 3. Baby step 1, have $1,000 as a starter emergency fund. This is grandma's advice of having a rainy day fund, of having some mattress money, just in case life happens to you and you don't want to go further into debt just to cover something with a tire or with an alternator. So, baby step 1, the sole purpose of this is to get families in the mindset of we are a family who saves. That is the sole purpose of this. Yes, it's going to also cover some little minor pop-ups that, maybe a tire or two, an alternator, not a transmission. But again, this is solely designed for us to get into the mindset of I am someone who saves. And what's really hard to put on a spreadsheet is the peace of mind that comes from looking at a separate savings account and just knowing, okay, I've got a little safety net here. If something happens that I'm not expecting, there's a little bit of wiggle room. Now, I would normally just dive right into baby step 2, but because I am talking to who I'm talking to today, and we're all a bunch of people who, commission is a very big deal, and we have irregular income from month to month. Here's what I want to advise, right? I don't still want to talk about baby step 2, which is paying off all your consumer debt and stopping all those payments from going out the door every month, because that is, truthfully, it's eating you alive. Here's what I would recommend as kind of custom conversation to you guys. Here's what we do in our household, right? And all of our people here who are on commission, we all teach the same thing, and it works so incredibly well. We have what's called a bad month fund, and that is separate from our emergency fund. So emergency is going to take care of something that's going to happen to the car, or if my wife and I were in a pinch and we really need something, that's for truly emergencies. The bad month fund is what we draw from whenever there's a slow month or a bad month or just a month that we're not expecting. That keeps our family afloat, and that kind of supplements our income. I would strongly advise everyone who hears the sound of my voice, and commission is a big deal in your life, to establish a bad month fund. And that just simply takes some intentionality every single month, whether it's a good month or a bad month. Set something aside, because you know how life is. It's hills and valleys, right? It's not always an upward trend. It's not always on the peak, on the mountaintop. Sometimes you're going to be in a valley. That's why we call this the hills and valleys budgeting technique. When we get to our conversation about budgeting, we'll talk more about that. But I would insert in between baby steps 1 and 2, after you have an emergency fund, start setting aside a bad month fund every single month. Look, if you get paid like a king, it doesn't mean you gotta live like a king, right? It's what we tell doctors when they're coming out of medical school. You might feel like a brand new doctor and you got that doctor salary, but you don't need to be living like one. You know what I'm saying? So even if you have a good month, put something aside, because life does slow down, as the past couple of years have taught us in real estate. It does slow down a little bit. So I guess you can think of that as baby step 1B if you want to. Baby step 2, paying off all your consumer debt. We use a method called the snowball method to pay off debt and to stay out of debt. We will get to that in another conversation specifically about debt. I think in 2 weeks. I believe budgeting is next, and then it's debt. And that's everything except for your home, right? Credit card, vehicle debt, student loans, medical debt, basically anything that is not a mortgage. We want it out of your life. All right, baby step 3. This is really just revisiting baby step 1 and beefing that up to 3 to 6 months of living expenses, because it's not always going to be a tire or an alternator. It might be something with the AC. It might be something with the roof. It might be something medical, Lord forbid, happening with your family. It might be something with your job or the economy. Who knows what it's going to be? But I would suggest for everyone on this call, putting aside, building your way up to 4 to 6 months of expenses, just because with commission-based jobs, you want a little bit of a bigger cushion than maybe someone who has, a blue collar regular paycheck. You guys know what I'm trying to say, right? We want you to be on the higher end of that 3 to 6 months of expenses, and not on the lower end, for the sake of you and your family. So that's baby steps 1, 2, and 3. And there's a lot of hustle that goes into this. The average family usually takes anywhere from 12 to 30 months working their way through baby steps 1 through 3. And so, like living a little bit differently for a couple years is absolutely worth it when you consider that you can live way differently for many, many years. If you do the hard work up front, if you hustle up front, you can live like nobody else later on. When everyone else is still hustling, you're gonna be living like nobody else. So that's where we want you. All right, baby steps 4, 5, and 6, and these typically happen around the same time in somebody's life. Now that you're completely debt-free, you have the bandwidth to start investing 15% of your income into retirement. We love Roth, right? We love a Roth because it grows tax-free. And then a traditional 401k follows that. Look, we'll get to this in our savings conversation, but there's a whole mess going around lately about single stocks and this, that, and the other. I just want to tell you, when it comes to investing and when it comes to retirement, be the tortoise, not the hare. Okay. Anyone promising you a better future by being the hare, they're trying to pull something over your eyes. You want to be the tortoise. Investing is not a game of Uno. It is a game of Monopoly, right? It's a long play. And that's how you need to think of it. It is consistency and intentionality over time equals a really, really awesome retirement. That's the math on that. You want to be consistent. You want to be intentional over a long period of time to set yourself up for success. Don't fool around with these, get rich quick overnight things that are going around. Don't buy into that. Be the tortoise, play the long game. You're going to be just fine. Baby step 5, if it applies to you, save for your kids' college fund. We love a 429 plan, a 529 plan, forgive me, and then an ESA, educational savings account. Those are 2 great vehicles to park your money and have them grow for either your child or a family member with those 2 accounts. And then baby step 6, this is entirely possible. Even in today's market, this is still a very real thing that happens every single day. We get someone calling into the radio show saying, hey, I just became debt free, and that also includes my mortgage. I haven't met a single soul who has said to me, Doug, when I consider my retirement life, I just cannot wait to keep paying on my mortgage. That's in no one's hopes and dreams when they talk about retirement. That is not a thing. We want to get you to a place where you are paying off your home and you own your own home, right? My parents just hit the stage. They paid off their home. And so my father likes to remind me, he says, Doug, when I walk into the house now, I physically feel different because it's mine and it's not the bank's. And I get to keep all that money I was throwing out of mortgage every month for, your mother and I's retirement life. That is an incredible feeling. And that's where we want to take you. Now, there is one more, because there are 7 baby steps. So kind of the cherry on top, where does this all lead towards? It leads to this kind of life where you are known as a generous person in your community and you are continuing to just stockpile and build wealth. We do not teach any of this stuff so that we can go be alone, a hermit on an island somewhere. That's not why we teach this. We want you to be in a position, and many of you want this for yourselves. We want to get you in a position where you are able to reach across the neighborhood and bless a family in need. We want to put you in a position where you're able to change the life of a family member or leave just an insane tip on that other human that's been waiting on you all afternoon at your favorite restaurant. We want to get you guys to a place where you are living like no one else, but you're also giving like nobody else, because that is a reward that just simply purchasing items cannot replace. When you are changing other people's life, that's an incredible reward on ourselves, on our emotional health, our mental health, our spiritual health, if it applies to you. That's where we want to take you. That's where this plan has led millions of families over the past 30 years of us doing this in the community and then on air on a national level. And that's what you guys are about to walk into, and I'm super excited. So without further delay, I do want to dive into the tools of SmartDollar, because if we just, kind of write down the 7 baby steps and just kind of keep them in an abstract form and never act on them, it's not going to go anywhere. So to answer the question of what is SmartDollar, SmartDollar is a collection of tools to help you live out these 7 baby steps, whether you are someone who needs $1,000 as an emergency fund, you are currently clawing your way out of debt, or you're working on paying off that mortgage. It doesn't matter. We have tools to help you check those boxes off. And so what we are going to do, well, before we dive into the product, just one quick thing, right? If you're on this call and you have not yet signed up, what are you doing? Join the party, because the number I keep, yesterday you guys launched, so I'm checking the numbers yesterday and today, and I feel like every time I refresh the page, there's another dozen people and another 10 people. That number is jumping at least by 2 every time I click, or every time I refresh. So I have a QR code. You will need the keyword, but both of these 2 things can be found in the chat today. We'll make sure that it's posted, and then check your email, check your team page, wherever you go to see the updates. It's going to be plastered everywhere. But just real quickly, if you need a QR code and a keyword, it is right here, and we can always circle back to this. But for the sake of time, I do want to actually hop into the product itself. I want to get out of PowerPoint mode. I want to hop into SmartDollar and just kind of share what it looks like when my wife and I go look at our account. And so we have gone through the account creation process. We are now at our dashboard, right? Netflix has a home page. Your Twitter feed has a home page. SmartDollar is no different. This is your homepage. This is your dashboard. And it's going to give us 3 things that we need to do, right? We need to go watch the new course that just went live not too long ago, called Your Money Plan. We need to go watch that. We've got 3 transactions that we need to track inside the budgeting tool. I know exactly what those are. We bought something for my daughter's birthday on Amazon. I got gas this morning. And the other thing, we ran to Publix last night to get some ingredients for dinner. So this is my dashboard. It's going to show me my progress since we got a SmartDollar account in May of 22 when we joined the SmartDollar team. And it's going to show us where we've come from and what we're working on. My wife and I, we're currently on what we call baby step 3B, saving a down payment for a home. And so it's been a while since we've updated our progress. So I'm getting prompted to go update my progress. But there's a little bit about the dashboard. But for everyone, for today's purposes, I don't want to get too in the weeds. I just want to give you guys a simple to-do list, a very simple next step. Okay. I personally love to treat our courses like an audiobook. On my way to and from work, I can just play this on my phone. I can set the phone in the cup holder, and you guys are driving around a lot. You guys are on the road going to closings and showings. This is a great way to treat this. But even better, if you have a partner or a spouse, we want you guys to watch this together, right? So for everyone on today's call, I would hop in to a course that really appeals to you. And I would suggest either budgeting or really the first couple of lessons of your money plan. And I would go ahead and knock those out as soon as you can. Okay. So watch a couple lessons. And then your other next step is I would go to all the tools that you have available. And this, depending on what baby step you are, you might want to check out the snowball tool. This is where I'm going to learn how to pay off debt. This is not applicable anymore because it's not tax season, but when tax season rolls around, I can file federal and state for free right here. You might want to check on retirement. Of course, this depends on what baby step you're on. So you'll figure that out pretty quickly as you go through the program. What baby step am I on? But the thing that I would want everyone to do, if I could just narrow it down to 2 action items as we go into the weekend, it would be this. Watch at least a couple of lessons of your favorite course, of a course that appeals to you. And then the second thing I would do, if you have not already done this somehow, is I would budget. Today is the 2nd of June. We always teach to budget before the month begins, but this is pretty close, right? And so you need to be budgeting for this month, because the old phrase still rings true. If you don't know where your money's going, you're going to wonder where it went, right? That $400 at the end of the month that you could have swore was going to be there, that walked off somewhere, and we don't know where it walked off to when we're not budgeting. But when we are budgeting consistently, faithfully, every day, every week, every time there's a transaction, it's pretty easy to get a gauge on where our money's going, and what we need to clean up, what area we need to rein in our spending. We have this, our family has this connected to our bank account. So every time we swipe our debit card, a transaction will show up inside of every dollar, and we can very easily move the I bought gas, right, at Quick Trip or whatever. I can move that over into the appropriate line item, and the amount that I have for gas every month just went down from 300 to 260, right? So I know exactly how much I have left to spend on all the areas that I've designated spending. So if I could narrow down just 2 action items for everyone on this as you're getting into this new benefit: watch lessons, right? Pick a course, watch some lessons, go make a budget. If I were to add a third, it would be this: everyone on this call has this ability called coaching. And it's your ability to hop on a Zoom call with someone here at Ramsey and just have a conversation about what's going on in life. If you can't make this, let's say I'm busy noon to 1 Central Time, I'm going to be busy. No problem. All you have to do is sign up and register for this, and we'll send you a recording of that conversation so you can listen to it or watch it later. There's a really good question coming up on the 8th. When do I pause the baby steps? And then another one of my favorites, a conversation about accountability on the 22nd there. So those are 3 action items that I would recommend to everyone on this call as we go into the weekend. Watch some lessons, make a budget for the month, and then schedule a coaching call. If one of these stand out to you, go ahead and sign up for one of these. I know this was a lot of words that just poured out of my mouth in a short amount of time. So before we go any further, I do want to give some time for either some questions or anything that you guys might have, comments, call outs in the chat. We've doing Kimberly and Bo, it looks like have done a fantastic, and Katie, I've done a fantastic job kind of answering as we go. So I'll let you guys do your thing and answer those questions as we roll through. The other thing that I want to highlight let me move this out of the way, are the baby steps. It's part of being intentional and accountable is knowing and keeping track of what you're doing and what you're working on. This is a fantastic way to keep the goal in front of you, because what you're going to find, and we all should be old enough to kind of know this as a truth, we as humans need to find ways to keep ourselves motivated and accountable on goals where we're not necessarily going to see instantaneous success, right? I'm thinking of financial health and then physical health. It's not like I walk into the gym, work out for an hour, and then all of a sudden my entire body is transformed. That's not how that works. The same can be true with financial wellness. It's not going to be like an overnight thing. So find ways to keep yourself accountable, right? $1,000, do whatever it takes. Have a yard sale, for goodness sake. Really hustle, make a hobby into a side hustle, like get there. But especially with baby step 2, if you are someone who has a lot of debt that's hiding in the closet, it's a long-term game, right? You're going to be clawing your way out of that depending on the size of the debt, but find ways to keep yourself motivated. Having accountability in your life, especially at the workplace, is a fantastic way to keep yourself motivated. So as we do like this overview introduction talk to SmartDollar, if you are someone on this call and you are facing a pretty steep mountain, your leaders, right? I've gotten to know Bo and Katie pretty well. Your leaders will help you walk through whatever kind of journey you're walking through. We have so many resources inside of SmartDollar to keep you motivated, whether it's an article that you want to read and kind of say, hey, this is possible, I can do this, or if it's something that you want to watch, like a video about a particular area of life, or maybe a question from our radio show. There's a ton of things to kind of get you in the right mindset of, I can do this, this is possible, because that is such a large part of financial wellness. If you played sports at all, you'll know that sometimes you just need points on the board to mentally keep yourself in the game. And the same is true with finances. You just need those small wins to keep yourself motivated in the game. As someone who had to find ways to keep themselves motivated, getting out of 140 grand worth of debt, the small wins along the way were everything to us. It kept us in that fight and kept us from giving up. So that was a lot of questions coming at you guys, or a lot of words coming at you guys. Before I get any further, are there any particular questions? Jim asks a point system. That's a really good answer, Jim. You guys might have seen up here at the top of my screen, there are some little points. So I get SmartDollar points for doing things inside of the program. And that's something that I'll let your leaders touch on, of how that's going to be utilized, or how that's going to be rewarded in any way going into the future. But for now, just consider it a really good thing. When you see this score going up, it means you're being a good human, and you're taking control of this area of your life. That's what it means for all of us, at least right now. Cassie, really good question.
Hey, Doug, I was just going to ask you to speak to that, because the confidentiality is one of the questions that keeps coming up. And if you can speak to that and then combine that with a point system. And later on, if you stay to the end, guys, I have some gamification for you and some incentives for certain point levels that we'll talk about. But go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, Cassie, fantastic question. Who can see my stuff, right? I'm using this program, I'm being vulnerable, trying to change my life, but I don't exactly want the whole neighborhood knowing what I got going on. I don't, here, I'll just put all the fears to rest. I have no clue how much debt you guys individually have. I have no clue what your salary is. I have no clue what you make. I have no insight whatsoever into anything that goes on in these programs, and neither does your leadership. Nobody knows what is going on. The only thing that we see is Doug has 9,560 SmartDollar points, and that just means that he was budgeting consistently, he was watching videos, and he was tracking his transactions, he was reading articles. It doesn't tell your leaders what subject matter you're looking into. It doesn't tell you what type of transactions you swiped on a card. It doesn't tell you any sort of insight into the particulars of your financial situation are completely left out of this. It's just points. Now, I will say, from like an organizational perspective, right? Whenever you make an update to, let's just say this, right? I've been faithful. I'm going to update my progress, which we all should be doing. This is such a big part of SmartDollar, is seeing your progress. Okay. So let's just say I want to update this to 150. It's not true. I mean, we paid off 140. Right. There we go. This is automatically going to update. Now, this number is sent not per person, but as a collective, as the group of us on this call. If we were all to go in to our SmartDollar accounts and put $100,000, I mean, gosh, I'm talking to 179 people on this Zoom call. That's a lot of money. That number, the collective number, is visible to the leaders of your organization. That way, they can in then turn say to the organization, as a collective, we have paid off this much in debt, or we have added this much to our savings account. And we want that visibility because it's important to celebrate that as a collective, as a whole organization. I hope that was clear. I hope that was helpful. Nothing about your particular financial situation is going to be visible to myself or your leadership. The only thing that they can see is how many points you have, which really doesn't tell them a whole lot about what you're doing. It's just kind of a barometer of activity. And they will be able to see the collective amount of debt paid off between the 180 of you that are on this call today. That's it. They don't know that Jim's amount is 20 grand paid off in debt and Allison's amount is 30 grand paid off in debt. They can't tell that particulars. It's just the collective. So I hope that's helpful, Cassie. There we go. Change that back. All right. Yes, Cassie says yes. Thank you. Awesome. Elizabeth, I already have an EveryDollar account. I signed up through Enroll Now link and linked my existing account. It says that I will be billed again in January. Who should I talk to about this? Really good question. I would love after this call, if someone can send me Elizabeth's contact information, we will get you in help with the EveryDollar team and we will make sure that you're not paying for a dime. Let's see. Anonymous says, great name. Love that name choice. Says about connecting personal accounts, or do we also connect our business checking accounts? So every single person is going to get one SmartDollar account. Whether you want to use that for personal or for business, I will let you decide for that. I would probably lean towards personal. But yeah, everyone gets one SmartDollar account. It's a really good question. Elizabeth says, thanks. Awesome. I'm going to copy and paste what you just sent, Elizabeth, and make sure that I have, I'll stop sharing my screen for a minute. I'm going to write that down, put that down in my notes so I don't forget how to reach you. All right, perfect.
Hey, Doug, I think that question regarding accounts was referring to bank accounts. Because in real estate, we'll generally have, your personal account and then a operating account for your real estate business. So I think that's really what she was referring to.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. So when linking a bank account, you can link multiple bank accounts and multiple cards. However, if for your purposes, which sounds like this is what's happening, you need basically two different budgeting, I guess, sheets. Like if you were to do this hard copy with pen and paper, kind of sounds like you want all the personal transactions and income over here, and then all the business transaction and incomes over here on separate forms. That might get a little tricky if you start linking everything in Smart. You can always unlink it later, but I would say start linking personal stuff. And then there are forms inside of SmartDollar for you to download and do it old school pen and paper. And so there are some budgeting forms when you go into Money Tools, which is probably a good time for me to hop back into screen share mode. For those of you who, technology, not really my thing, but I am digging all these money tools. I do have a lot of tools, especially an irregular income planning sheet. Might want to hop into Money Tools and download this or download all of the other things that we have. So there is a way for you to do both. It might just be that one is digital and one is hard copy. All right, let's see here. Scrolling through these comments, I think we got a lot of stuff answered already. Kimberly and Katie are doing a fantastic job. All right, let's see, open questions. Here's a good one, Joe. With all the hacking for major companies across the globe, how is SmartDollar protecting all the information and account linking? That's a fantastic question. Our security up here in Ramsey Global, which is the team that protects everything, is seriously world-class. We as a company have invested a lot of money into security because of what we do. And so really the best thing that I can tell you, because I don't know the particulars, the name of the software that we use, I couldn't tell you any of that kind of stuff. I just know the dollar amount that we invest into it, and I know that it's seriously world-class. So that is something, if you want some more particulars about that, probably hop into SmartDollar. There's a little SmartDollar help, kind of ask the help team. They might be able to hook you up with some particulars. And then what I can do on my side is I can reach out, get some information, send this over to your leadership, and then United and Benchmark, you guys can kind of disseminate that and spread that across if that's a question that keeps coming up. I do see one. Carrie says, what is Dave on the radio's info? No, that's a really good question. For the past 30 years, we've been doing, it's taken on different names throughout the years. It used to be called the Money Game way back in the day. Now it's just called the Ramsey Show. And that's just where we take callers from around the country and we just answer their money questions. There are, goodness, our YouTube page is full of clips and segments and callers and questions, and people could just binge watch that all day long. All our stuff has gone viral on TikTok of people calling in with just the most ridiculous questions you can imagine. I highly suggest, if you want to be entertained and also informed, Carrie, check out our YouTube channel for all the clips from the radio show. And then we got Brian answering a question about budgetings. So it looks like from personal experience from Brian, you can do personal and then one for business. Love it. All right. Philip, I know we got about 10 minutes left. So I want to make sure we give time for any last questions, words, remarks before we go absolutely crush this Friday.
We've had a lot of questions. We've got interesting. Bo just told me that we're up to 171 accounts now. This morning when we started, we were at 120. So we have helped 50 people on this call. So that should make you feel good about yourself, Brother Doug.
And hey, I want to point out, September is not too far away. We are doing a $5,000 giveaway in September, but you can only win if you're a SmartDollar user. So if you want to win $5,000, just make sure you're signed up for SmartDollar.
Yeah, the other thing I'll punch again, even though you punched it, was the training videos on this system. They are world-class. I'm just telling you. I have looked at several of them already and walked through it. And you will not find a better training program on how to manage money, how to budget money than what you see today. I want to repeat to everybody, we have a budgeting class. You received an email on this morning. There's a budgeting webinar on June 5th. There's Kick Debt to the Curb webinar on June the 12th. And then Saving for Life on June 19th. And then we are going to repeat the entire series in July. And we're recording them all. So we will have them available. But try to get the live sessions if you can, because that's where you can get the questions answered best. And I promise next time I will have chat feature activated instead of just Q&A. We got some more questions that came in there, Doug. You want to take a look at those?
Let's see. What is the company keyword for Parth & Smith's Realty? So it's really just United Real Estate. It's going to be one keyword for everybody.
It's the same for all of us. Yeah.
Same for everybody. That's exactly
type
right.
that in there.
What is your gain from this process? I'm not too exactly sure what the question means, but I don't get anything from you guys using SmartDollar. I'm just a family that got themselves out of debt And I want the same for you guys. And I want you guys to have some emergency funds and some security when you go to bed at night. That's my biggest gain from this.
Let me speak to that, Doug, if I can, as a member of leadership of United. And if you saw my video, I'm also, I'm the CEO of Benchmark, but I've also been appointed EVP of strategy for United Real Estate, the larger corporation. One of the things that I could encourage you to do is, number one, go watch that video and hear a little bit of my story. I have been there. I know what it's like to work 60, 70 hours a week and be hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt and be the sole provider for a family. So our interest in you is your security, your health welfare, your mental welfare, your financial welfare, because that makes you a better real estate person out here to your consumer if you don't have those stresses on you. So that's our skin in the game, as it were. We are not asking for payment on this. Dan Duffy has contributed a five-figure sum to this. He's willing to actually roll it out to the entire organization, which will be a much bigger sum. But right now we're doing the test kitchen for these three companies, Charles Rittenberg, Pearson, and Benchmark as well. But our interest is in you, because we are seeing over and over again these companies that are deceiving real estate agents into believing that stock swaps for commissions and single stock investments are a good deal. And it's absolutely false. Doug touched on that earlier in the conversation. And that breaks our heart. So that's our skin in the game. That's our motivation, trying to help you. We're asking for nothing in return except for your financial welfare. And lean in, participate in the tool, and you'll experience that. So how's that for a dramatic answer, Doug?
I love it. You and I both know what it feels like to go into work on a Monday and what's going on in the bank account, what's going on at home. It feels like a backpack full of bricks. So when you can help your employees and your team members and all of your amazing people that you guys get to work with, when you help them offload that backpack, they're better at their jobs. The company gets better because everyone's better at their jobs. That's the big get from it. Susan has asked, I've been waiting for this question. Normally I always get a credit card question during conversations about SmartDollar. So Susan says, I use credit cards for travel points. Hey, we did too. And I pay it off every month. However, I'm honest enough to say that kicking the spending down the path and the points are gonna be a good mindset. I do overspend. Any ideas about another way to get points? So here's what I'll say about credit cards and points, okay? There's a ton of studies out there that have been conducted. You spend more money when you use a credit card. And because the pain isn't felt right away. I mean, look at any credit card commercial. People are swiping, they're getting their stuff. It's a whole family. They're smiling, they're getting their goodies at the store. And it's all just good stuff. What they don't tell you in that commercial is after they put the kids at sleep at night, an emergency happened, they had to swipe the card again, and now they're behind. Or it's the single mom at the table thinking, I thought that I could handle this. Let me tell you the truth, okay? Everyone who has ever in the history of ever gotten burned by a credit card has always said the exact same thing. I'll always pay it off. And that goes back to what we said about good intentions. We have great intentions, but that's not enough to actually have progress and action in our life. So I would say this to you, Susan, you work where did your question go? I think it got answered. You work too hard to let something like that exist in your life that is just waiting to prey on you. I promise you that credit card companies, the executives over at corporate, they're not sitting around and saying, you know what, I wonder what's best for Doug and Philip. We should do that, guys. Let's do what's best for the people. They're not having those conversations, okay? Credit card is keeping a small fire in your wallet. It's only a matter of time before that catches. We have seen so many families gotten burned by credit cards because what happens? You swipe. I'm near my limit. I won't overspend. And then an emergency happens. And now the cycle begins, right? And besides all those points, all your free stuff comes from other families not paying their bills. That's how they can afford all that free stuff that they're giving you. It's another family's misfortune is your benefit. So we cut up our credit cards when we started this journey. Best decision we ever made. We'll not return to that style of life.
I could chime in on that also. I used to have actually a debit card that had points on it. So you might want to investigate and see what banks offer that in your community.
Yep. All right. I think that's everything. I know there's a couple things, Philip, that you wanted to touch on before we hopped off. So with 2 minutes left, I will officially turn this back over to you and your amazing team.
All right. Well, stop your screen share and I'll share mine again. How about that?
Oh, there we go. Of course. What am I doing? There we go. There we go.
I mean, we love looking at it, but yeah, okay. Let me get to my correct one here. So, Doug, I really do appreciate that. One of the things I wanted to share with everybody is some of the things that we're offering. Now, you saw this in the email that this is actually a 3-column or a 3-tier plan that United has for all of our affiliates. And I can't reiterate enough that the reason we're doing this is because we're seeing people going into consumer debt, increasing their consumer debt to maintain their lifestyle that they had before inflation ravaged their bank account. You saw in the video $17.1 trillion in consumer debt, and only 11 trillion of that is mortgages. The rest of it is student loans, credit cards, car payments, that sort of thing that really does not contribute to your family's bottom line. And when you go borrow money to keep your lifestyle up because you already have debt, it's a vicious cycle that you can never get out of. So we are supporting our affiliates through a 3-tier process here. The first is the 100% commission program that every one of you is on. It varies by office to office. I get that, but essentially we are a fee-based organization and you get 100% of your commission. So that's the first column. The second column is Ramsey SmartDollar. That's going to educate you and help you walk through a process and hold you accountable through coaching and personal interaction with the system for budgeting, debt elimination, savings, wealth building, the ability to finally get to where you can actually have surplus funds no matter what the economy is doing. The third part of that, which is to come, we do not have this finalized yet. That's kind of the big, tall hill. And I saw a question asked about 401k a while ago. Ramsey does not take your money that you've saved and win and have a bunch of guys calling you trying to sell you 401ks and investments. They do not do that. So hear me clearly on that. That is not part of the Ramsey process, okay? However, we are trying to develop a funnel for those who have accumulated wealth through this program to then invest that in with wealth advisors. We're currently working with a company out in Kansas City right now. And if you happen to be completely debt-free already on this call, please reach out to me because we can put you in a program. The minimum wealth accumulation to play in that pond is $50,000. So if we can get you to $50,000, we can shift you over to the investment advisors. And they're probably the biggest wealth advisors you've never heard of, but they have a lot of money asset under management and they're very professional. So that's the part, the last third leg of the stool that we're working on. Okay, so that's coming soon. So hear me clearly. That part is coming soon. Right now, we got to get you up on your feet, and that's where SmartDollar comes into play. So once we get this rolling, and to help incentivize to get this rolling, getting you to use SmartDollar, and like I said, we already have 171 accounts on it right now, so that's awesome. But we sent this information to 3,500 agents. So we'd like to have at least a 10% participation rate, but to incentivize that, we're going to do some gamification internally. So when you reach 4,000 points within the system, and as Doug said, we can only see the points and the total dollars that you paid off. So once you reach 4,000 points, you're going to go into a bucket, a pool, and you're going to be eligible to win the following things. And these are things that this is more money we're bringing to the table to help incentivize you to do this. It's coming completely out of our pockets. It's not costing you anything. We're going to give away 2 registrations to Elevate Conference in September. And that's a $4.99 value for each one of those. So we're going to draw a name and we're going to call you up and say, you get a free pass in Orlando. The second one is we're going to have another drawing. There'll be 1 round trip on Southwest up to about $300. So we're going to pay for your plane ticket down to Orlando. And then the last one is 2 nights at the conference rate at the hotel, which is about $500. So that's our gamification that United is contributing to this process. And you can't have ability to be drawn until you hit 4,000 points within this system. So once you do, you'll know it. You'll see it in the upper right-hand corner when you've hit the points, and you'll be able to participate in that. So we will send that out in our future emails. You got another email this morning talking about the future webinars. So you want to go ahead and sign up for those. There are registration links in that email. If you didn't get that email, hit us up. We'll send it to you again. But check your spam or your promotions folder first, because 9 times out of 10, that's where it is. If you're having trouble registering on the SmartDollar system, there's a button there to click to ask for help, and they will help you get straightened out. The key operator on that when you get in is your telephone number that your broker has. That's your unique identifier. Now, to get in, everybody's using United Real Estate, all one word. That's how you get in. Once you have the system set up, your unique identifier is the phone number that your broker has. So if you got a different phone number you put in there, it may tell you you're not in the database. But if you have any questions on that, just hit the button on the system and somebody will pop up and help you with that. So with that, I think we are in good shape here, Doug. There's a couple of questions that popped up. Oh, Sonia Kelly loves Benchmark. Okay, of course you do. Thank you, Sonia. Appreciate that. And Megan, I think Megna, I think I answered that question. It is the phone number that you have registered with your broker is the phone number you need to put in. Otherwise, it will know you and recognize you right away. All right. So with that said, I think we're about done here, right?
I think so. Philip, if I could, just one last bit of encouragement to everyone who's still on the call. Being financially stable is 80% behavior and 20% head knowledge. You do not have to be a genius. You just have to be someone who wants to get on a plan and is serious about making changes in their life. I texted a friend of mine who's a real estate agent before today, and I said, hey, tomorrow I'm going to be talking to a bunch of agents. What advice would you have for them? And this is what my friend says. He says, no one gives a crap about the car you drive or your lifestyle outside of like a closing, right? What customers care about, what clients care about is your work ethic and your hustle. He said, I would rather show up to a closing in my old Honda than a brand new Lexus or Mercedes, because when I go home at night, I have financial peace and I'm running laps around the other agents because my life when I'm at home is stable and it's sound and I feel secure. That's what he told me. And that's what I want for you guys. And for the next couple of weeks and throughout the summer, we are going to be taking a look at how do we change our lifestyle so that we have more peace and less stress, and you guys are set up for success. That's what we want to do. So I'm super excited to walk with you guys as we go forward.
100%, Doug. If I can offer a testimony on that as well. I don't owe anybody anything. I pay property taxes in 3 states and I drive a Volkswagen. Okay. The point being, it doesn't matter because nobody cares. This is for your family and it's going to help you in your business and it's going to help in your mind. It's going to help you in your soul. Lean in on the tool. It will help you. All right. Thanks for being here. Appreciate all of you. Have a great day.